Hello everyone, I'm back for another tutorial. I've been asked to do a very large number of these, so I figured I'd start from the beginning and go over how to create a standard DayZ Epoch server. The first thing you're going to need to do is make sure that Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead, and any text editor is installed. For me, I'll be using Notepad++, which is a very widely used and really good text editor. I suggest getting it. The link for it will be in the description. And once you have all of that set up, we can start installing the server and getting everything set up. The first thing you need to do is download Visual C++ redistribution pack. You'll get an error with your server if you don't do this. So the link will be in the description, and you'll come to this page, select download, and you want to download the VC Redist x86. You may have a 64-bit operating system, but don't download that one. Everyone needs to download this exact one, no matter what type of operating system you have. You'll select next, keep, and of course you will install it. So I will go ahead and let you install that on your own, and I'll skip past it on mine. So the first thing you need to do, of course, is get the server files. If you go to epochmod.com, which will also be in the description, you'll see this page here. You want to go over to the Arma 2 tab and scroll down until you see server files. There will be a server download link for the server files that you need. This video is covering 1.0.4.2a because that's the current version out. This video will be working for other versions, so you don't have to worry if the version number is different for you. So this one's a pretty quick download, as you can tell. It's already done downloading. I'm just going to move it to my desktop for now. Now we're also going to need to download two other things. We need XAMPP, and then we'll be needing an editor for the MySQL database. So first thing we're going to do is get XAMPP. The link for this is in the description. Just select it and it'll come up. Now you want to get the latest version. For me right now it's 1.8.3. The latest version will always be at the top of this list, so you just click the first one. That'll take us to this page. You'll see that there's three different types of 1.8.3 at the top here. You want to select the zip file. So just look for the one that has the version number that you selected, which is 1.8.3 for us, and it'll say .zip. It's pretty much always going to be the second one on the list, but just make sure. The download for this will start automatically once the timer's done, and you can see that it started down here. Now we also need to download a MySQL workbench, which will allow us to edit the SQL files that are needed. Most people have you using Navicat Lite, but I suggest using Workbench for a large number of reasons that I really won't get into during this video. But Navicat Lite is not supported by the developers or even offered by them anymore, so I suggest not downloading that from a third-party website. You never know what they've done to modify that program. Always get your files from the source. Go to the link in the description for Workbench. You'll get to this page here. Go all the way down to the bottom and you'll see two downloads. You want to choose the zip file. You'll get to this page here and it'll say login or sign up. You don't have to do that. Just look at the bottom and it says no thanks, just start my download, and it will start for you. So now that your Epoch server and your XAMPP are done, we'll move that to the desktop. And MySQL shouldn't take too long, and I'll move that to the desktop now that it's done as well. So now that we've got everything we need, we can go ahead and begin installing the server. You need to extract the server files to whichever location you want. I'm putting mine in this Epoch server file that I've already got created. and we'll let that extract. And then we'll also be extracting XAMPP and MySQL into the same folder. This will help keep the desktop nice and clean, and these aren't programs that you're really going to need to interact with too much because we're going to make a link to the desktop that allows you to access them directly without having a folder that you have to wade through. So we'll go ahead and extract these as well. You can extract them directly to the desktop and move them into your server folder once they're done. So for MySQL Workbench, you'll open it up and you'll see that there's another folder inside. You want to cut that folder and paste it into your Epoch folder. So we're moving MySQL now, and XAMPP has finished, so we'll do the same thing. We will open XAMPP and copy the folder inside over here. Now while that's running, we can go ahead and work more on the server itself. So once all your Epoch server files are done extracting into this folder, you need to go into config examples. In here you'll see a list of folders and batch files that will execute the server. So you'll have to choose which map you want. For this tutorial I'm going to be using Chernarus because it's the more widely known and popular map. So you need to select the folder for it, and you also need to select the batch file for it. So I've chosen instance 11 Chernarus. I need to come down here and find a similar file to it. So you'll see instance 11 Chernarus right here. So we want to copy both of them. So copy both files into the root directory of the Epoch server. And now we have most of the files set up for the Epoch server. Our XAMPP and MySQL are done transferring, so we can delete all the files associated with that. And now what we have to do is get the Arma 2 game files into this folder. My Arma 2 game is through Steam, so I'll find my Steam games folder, which is wherever you put it. It could be in your program files on your C drive, or it could be anywhere else that you told it to install to. So you'll find your Steam games folder. You can also find it by searching your computer for it. And then you'll go into Steam Apps, Common, and Arma 2. You want to copy everything in this file. Don't cut it, just copy. And paste it into your Epoch server folder. This will take quite a bit to get done. 8 gigs of data, so it'll take a while for it all to transfer. Mine may transfer faster than yours. Don't worry too much about it. We'll be doing other stuff while this is copying over. Now that that's going on, we'll work on XAMPP. So you come over to XAMPP folder, and you need to go down to the bottom. You will see a setup XAMPP batch file, which is right here, and you want to open it. Let it run until you see this press any key to continue, which just popped up now. That means that it's installed. So you'll go ahead and press enter when that's finished. If yours isn't done, pause the video and wait a few seconds and then start it back up. Now that's completely done and set up. Now what you want to do is you want to run the XAMPP control, which is right here at the very bottom. If you want to be able to access this quite often, you can send it directly to your desktop. So you right click and select send to and then desktop, and that will create a nice little shortcut on your desktop. I suggest doing this because you're most likely going to want to start and stop your server through this. So you'll start it up and you'll get this language dialog. And you just choose whichever language you want. I'm leaving mine on English or the American flag. And you select save. then it will pull up this box here. Now, if you're going to be running your server dedicated and not really using that computer and you always want this server to run, select this box here. It will install a Windows service so that your MySQL will run whenever you start your computer. For me, I'm only going to be running this server every now and then, or for the purposes of this tutorial, so I'm only going to click Start. As you can see, this has turned green and it's starting up the service. XAMPP's a little odd with itself. If you press the minus, well, you might have a Windows firewall that wants to block it. And you need to allow access. You have to allow access if you want this server to run properly. Now with XAMPP, like I was saying, if you press the minus, it goes down into your taskbar here. If you press the X, it goes over here into your little icons on the bottom right. If you want it to close entirely, you have to press this quit or else it won't close down. It'll still be running in the background, and if you ever want to stop your MySQL service, you just press the stop button and it stops itself. But we need to leave it running for the purpose of this tutorial, so I'm going to start it back up and let it run. And I'm just going to minimize it to the taskbar. Now, at some point during the transfer from your Arma 2 files into your Epoch server file, it will ask you to overwrite files. You want to overwrite these. Make sure every single file is overwritten. Now, my copy may have gone faster than yours, so I'm not going to start the copy of the Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead just yet. I'll give yours some time to finish. So now we have the XAMPP done and ready to go. Now we need to start the workbench. So you'll find your MySQL workbench file and open that. Down near the bottom you'll see MySQL workbench. It's not quite at the bottom, but it's almost there. You want to open this application file. It should look like a dolphin and just say MySQL workbench. We'll let this load up and you'll get a screen like this. This is the standard screen that you should have even if you've got a relatively newer version of the workbench. What we need to do is make a new connection. So up here where it says MySQL connections, you have to press this little plus button and that will open up this. For the connection name, we want to name it DayZ Epoch Server. We want to make sure that the host name is 127.0.0.1 and the port needs to be 3306. Keep the username as root. Now what you need to do is select test connection. For here it says that the connection parameters are correct, so it was able to establish a connection. If you get an error, it's most likely that you didn't have this started. I'll show you the error now. So as you can see, it says failed to connect to MySQL at the host name and port that we specified. If you get that, it means that your MySQL was not running. Go ahead, pull up your XAMPP and start it. And then of course, test your connection to make sure it's working. If it passes, then press OK. Now you'll get this little box here. You want to click on this to open it up. It only takes a single click. And don't worry about that. That was just something about my computer that has nothing to do with yours. What we need to do now is create an SQL database for your Epoch server. Go up here where this little icon is and it says create a new schema in the connected server. So we select that and we want to name this DayZ _ Epoch. It must be named this, otherwise you will have trouble getting your server to work correctly. Now select apply. You'll get a box like this. Just select apply again and then finish. Now if you come over to the side panel here, you'll see that there is a DayZ Epoch database now. You double click this and make sure that it looks bold. It must be bold. If it's not, then it's not going to work correctly. Now what we need to do is populate this with the SQL queries that the Epoch gives us. So you come over to your main Epoch server again, where all of your files have been transferred, and you'll find an SQL file. So go ahead and open that file, and what we'll do is we'll close this Epoch schema and drag Epoch SQL into your SQL file 1 box here. And you'll see that it adds all of this programming text to it. What you need to do is just select the little lightning bolt right here that says execute the selected portion of the script. So this will execute the entire file. As you can see at the bottom here, a lot of items have been added in. It's a long list of different things that have been added in. If you press this little refresh icon, it'll refresh all the database, and looking inside the tables, we have a set of tables for DayZ Epoch now. If you want to ever edit any of your server information through the SQL database, this is where you would do it. Say you want to edit a character's inventory. You'll right-click on the character data table and select rows. This will bring up all of the characters that have joined your server. Right now it's just null because we have no characters that have joined. We also have a server traders one, which is where you will find all of the possible things you can buy from your traders. I highly suggest learning SQL because it gives you a lot of power over your server. If you don't want to learn it, you don't have to, but it can help you in the long run. You can look in the description of the YouTube video and find where it says vehicle cleanup. There's going to be code there for you to copy and paste over. This code will help keep the database clean and everything running nice and smooth. The code that you'll get, you can just open one of the tables, like I had opened the character data, highlight what's there, and just delete it. Now paste in the new stuff that you copied from the video description. It'll look like this. You just go ahead and press the lightning bolt again to run it. And now every day this script will clean out all of the destroyed vehicles, because the database will keep track of every vehicle that's ever existed in the game, even if it's been destroyed. This will clean it out every day to keep any problems from happening like that. So now that's completely done, and what we're going to do now is just close this out. If you're asked to save anything, don't save it. Now what we do is we continue the transfer of files. So you go back into your Epoch server, and now we're going to pull the Arma 2 operation arrowhead files. If your Arma 2 files are not done transferring, pause this video and wait. So you'll go back to your common file for Steam maps if you got this game through Steam, and open up your Arma 2 operation arrowhead. In here you'll see all of these files. You want to copy everything again and paste it into your Epoch server over here. And your transfer will begin. This one will take a little bit longer than the last one, but we can still continue working on the server while this transfers. You will again be asked to overwrite files. You want to overwrite everything again. Mine will pop up sometime during this video. So now we'll continue work on the server. Go into your instance folder that you chose. Since we're doing the Chernarus map, mine's instance 11 Chernarus. So we're going to go into that folder and open up your Hive ext. I'm going to open mine up with Notepad++ because it's my preferred editor. And this will show up for you. This is where you're going to set up some parts of your server. Under time, you're going to see that you've got this small little area. This all pertains to the server time. You have three options for this. You have static time, local time, or custom time. You can see them here, so those are your three options. The default, of course, is static. Static will make your server time always start at whatever value hour is when you restart your server. So whatever value this is the time that the server will be when it restarts. So in this case, by default, it's always 1 p.m. when the server restarts. Custom time will set the time to an offset of your local time. To use this, you need to remove the semicolon here, change this to custom, and select the offset from your UTC, which is your local time. And by default, it's a -8 offset, so it's 8 hours behind. And then what you'll want to do is put a semicolon in front of hour. So let's say that we change this to -2. If your local time is 5 p.m. when the server restarts, the time in the game will be 3 p.m. because it's 2 hours behind you. And our third and final option is local. Local will set the server time to the same as the time of day wherever the server is located in the real world. So if it's 11 p.m. where your server is located, it will be 11 p.m. in the game. When using this option, you just put a semicolon in front of all the other options so that this is the only one that is without a semicolon. My suggestion is that you use static or local. Offset isn't really used, and it's not really a good idea to use it in my opinion. So most people like to use local because it runs on the standard time of the day. Or you can use static if you want it to be a specific time every time you restart the server. For me, I'm going to set it up as local. Now here in the database area, you'll see your host name, the type of database, which is MySQL. It's the only one that they support anyway. The port that you're using, the database name, which we set up already, and down here you'll see username and password. You need to change this to root and remove the password here. So you'll still leave that little space between the equals and the password. Now you'll see other areas down here. Now this here is the area that you'll work with when you want a base decay to happen. And as you can see that it's finally asking me to replace files. So go ahead and just make sure that everything gets replaced and let that run. Now as I was saying, this is where your base cleanup happens for base decay. All of the information you need is already written out. You'll go ahead and remove the semicolon in front of the cleanup placed lines after how many days if it hasn't been maintained, and just go through all of that. If you don't understand exactly what's going on there, you can find it on the Epoch site. So now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and save this, and now we need to open up our config that's in the same instance 11 Trinars folder with the hive.ext. So open up your config file, and here is where you can change the name of your server. You must leave this part the same. If you change this, it will not appear as white, the DayZ commander. You have to leave that there, otherwise it's not going to appear white and you're not going to get a large influx of players. Anything in front of this you can change. So I can just change all of this. I'm going to name it Nox's Trinaris test server. And here you'll see a password. This is the password that the players must know to enter your server. If you want this to be open to everyone, don't put anything here. If you only want your friends to join, give it a password. Under that you have password admin. This is the admin password for you in-game so that you can kick and ban players. Change this now. If you don't, other players will be able to log in as admin and will start messing around with stuff that they really shouldn't be messing with. So change this to a password that you will remember or you're comfortable with. I'm just going to type in gibberish for now because this isn't going to be a server that I'm hosting out to the public. Now, maxPlayers is a number of players that are allowed into your server. You do need to consider how powerful your computer is. If you don't think it can sustain 50 players, lower it. Otherwise, you'll start getting crashes when that many players start to join. I suggest starting low, and if the server is stable, then start incrementing it up until it becomes unstable and then lower it back down. So for me, I'm just going to start mine off at 20. Now, don't modify any of those. Here you can change the message of the day. This is what's displayed to the players on the bottom left of the screen when they join. For me, I'm just going to change DayZ Epoch to welcome to my test server. And then this is the second line of the file, or of the message of the day. So if you want something else to display, you can put something like, please follow all server rules. So down here at the bottom, you'll see that there's a difficulty option, and its default is veteran. There are 4 different options for this, and I'll leave a link to this in the description that gives you the information on what each difficulty level does. You can see here that recruit has everything enabled and expert has nothing enabled, and the 2 in the middle have a little bit enabled. I'm just going to change mine to regular so that I have where you can highlight enemies if they're in your peripheral vision. So if they're on like the side of the screen, it'll highlight slightly. It'll show name tags, and it'll allow you to go in third person and crosshairs. So just choose whichever difficulty setting you want by basing it off of this website here. Now go ahead and save this file as well. Make sure your HiveEXT is also saved. And then you can go ahead and close your text editor. You've now set up the main files that you need to for your DayZ Epoch server. Go back into your Epoch server and go down to where you see the batch file for your instance server. Like here, mine was instance 11 Chinaris. I'm going to find this file. Right click it and send to desktop just like you did with the XM. So now it's a shortcut on your desktop that you can just run at any time that you need it to. Once everything is done transferring into your folder here, you're pretty much set to go. Then you can run your DayZ Epoch batch file, and it starts to load itself up. This will load up the console and get the entire server up and running. It may ask for allowing it through the firewall. Make sure you allow access. And then it'll minimize itself down here to your taskbar. If you click on the Arma 2, this is the server box. You need to leave this open. Closing it will shut down your server. So I'm going to minimize that. So now what we're going to do is locate your server in the DayZ Commander. Your server won't show up immediately in the Commander. It could take a few minutes or a few hours because the Commander has to find your server, so it could take quite a while. Essentially what has to happen is your server sends information to the Hive, and then DayZ Commander pulls the information from the Hive to display it. Mine has already showed up, but yours may not. In the event that yours isn't showing up yet, what you do is you open up your web browser and you go over to Google. You search, what's my IP? It will show you what your IP address is. This is the address that you'll have to give to any player that wants to join your server until it shows up in DayZ Commander. You'll also need to use this IP if you're joining from a different computer. So say this is your own dedicated server and you're going to join from a different computer in your house, or your friend's going to join. What they'll do is they'll paste that IP into the left box, and in the right box you'll put the port number 2302 and add favorite. Because I'm on the computer with the server, you can see that it shows that it's not working. If you want to play on the computer you're hosting from, you need to type 127.0.0.1 and then the port 2302 and add favorite. As you can see, my server has shown up now. To type in to join, this is what you'll need to type in on the serving computer to join. Everything's ready to go now. You can join your server, hand out your IP to your friends, and play as much as you like. Thank you for watching. If you have any ideas for some mods that you need help installing, give me a suggestion. I can make a video for that. And just be ready for some more videos on how to mod different popular mods into the game. I already have one up for my popular admin tools that I've been scripting. So if you want a way to administer your server a little bit better, go ahead and check those out. It's a pretty in-depth detail on how to install that. Again, thanks for watching. Please give me a like and subscribe if you want more DayZ material on how to install different mods for your game.